And moving on to our last story for the show tonight, African nations have found a way to trade in local currencies, which would reduce their dependency on the US dollar. The Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, or COMESA, has launched a digital payment system. It would allow the 21 member nations of the Regional Economic Bloc to settle cross-border payments in local currencies, eliminating the need to convert them into hard currencies like the American dollar for international trade. The group said that the newly launched digital retail payments platform is starting with trials between Malawi and Zambia, and it is being rolled out in partnership with 2 digital financial services providers and a foreign exchange provider. The names of these partners have not yet been revealed.
In the corridor between Malawi and Zambia, a quietly revolutionary shift is unfolding. A payment system is being tested that could alter how Africa trades and challenge the long-standing dominance of the US dollar. The Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA, a regional bloc of 21 nations covering Eastern and Southern Africa, has launched the digital retail payments platform DRPP for traders, small business owners, mobile money users, and regional banks. This moment marks a turning point, one where trade between neighboring countries can be settled in their own currencies, without the costly step of converting into US dollars. Tonight, we explore how this platform works, why it matters, and what it means for Africa's economic independence and the global currency system. For decades, Africa's cross-border trade has been slowed and burdened by a hidden cost, the US dollar. Many transactions between African countries still require conversion to dollars, routing through correspondent banks, and paying multiple fees. Analysts estimate that African businesses often face currency conversion costs of 10% to 30% of transaction value when using dollar-based settlement. For micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs), the backbone of African economies, representing 80% of businesses and 60% of employment in COMESA nations, these costs are crippling. Furthermore, dependence on the dollar leaves regional trade vulnerable to foreign exchange risk, delays, and lack of liquidity in African currency corridors. In essence, Africa pays a dollar tax simply because its neighboring transactions go through external currency rails. Reducing this dependency is not just technical. It is strategic, enabling Africa to trade more efficiently, build value internally, and strengthen economic integration. In October 2025, COMESA officially launched the DRPP, beginning with a pilot corridor between Malawi and Zambia. The platform is operated by the COMESA Clearing House (CCH), a specialized body that oversees regional payment and settlement systems under the COMESA Treaty. Key features of the DRPP: settlement in local currencies rather than converting to dollars, interoperability between banks, mobile money providers, and Fintech services, targets for transaction costs under 3% of value, a major improvement over current levels, focus on inclusive access, connecting micro-traders, border businesses, MSMEs, and women entrepreneurs. In short, what once required multiple conversions, delays, and uncertainty can now proceed almost as simply as domestic transfers. Behind the DRPP lies a complex integration of national payment rails, fintech overlays, and foreign exchange infrastructure. In Malawi and Zambia, the pilot links commercial banks, mobile money operators such as Zamtel, and digital finance providers. A trader in Malawi can now sell goods to Zambia and receive payment in Malawian kwacha or Zambian kwacha, without passing through the dollar. The platform handles exchange rate matching, settlement clearing, and compliance in near real time. For the trader at the border, this means fewer delays, lower fees, and less reliance on scarce foreign currency reserves. As the Trade Minister of Kenya noted, the woman trader who can now travel safely without cash. Behind the scenes, central banks are collaborating, Liquidity pools are being established and fintech innovators are designing user-friendly interfaces. The promise: cross-border Africa becomes as easy to transact in as local commerce. For African economies, the DRPP could unlock several transformational outcomes. Lower transaction costs, raise profit margins for small traders, and reduce price inflation across borders. Settling trade in local currencies helps preserve foreign exchange reserves and reduces vulnerability to dollar volatility. Faster payments and more inclusive access can boost regional value chains, making intra-African trade more fluid and competitive. Digital payments provide data visibility, financial inclusion metrics, and stronger regulatory oversight. As one commentator put it, this is less about the dollarization and more about the dollarizing trade friction. In effect, Africa is crafting a financial infrastructure of its own, one that supports trade, integration, and sovereignty. The global payments architecture has long flowed through the US dollar. The strength of the dollar underpins US economic and geopolitical influence. When African trade pays the dollar tax, value drains offshore, and regional resilience is compromised. Now, with systems like the DRPP, a transaction that once cost 10 to 30% might cost under 3%, and without routing via Western correspondent banks, this shift does more than save money. It signals a structural rebalancing. The path that once led through New York or London now runs via Nairobi, Lilongwe and Lusaka. While full dollar replacement is not the goal, the reduction of dependence marks a significant step, one that could gradually weaken dollar-centric transmission of economic control. In a globalized world, payments indeed become power. Despite the promise, the path is far from guaranteed. Issues ahead include liquidity and currency pairing. Many African currencies lack depth to trade freely with neighbors, making direct settlement challenging. Regulation and risk. Cross-border payments must manage anti-money laundering rules, fintech risk, and multiple national frameworks. Infrastructure gaps. In remote regions, reliable digital connectivity, power and banking access remain weak. Trust and user adoption. MSMS must be confident the new system is safe, low-cost, and accessible. Usability is key. Dollar network inertia. Many global buyers and banks still prefer dollar settlement for stability and liquidity. Changing habits takes time. Thus, while the DRPP is a breakthrough, real-world scale-up will require patience, coordination, and oversight. The pilot between Malawi and Zambia is the first real-world test of the DRPP. Commercial banks, fintechs, and mobile money operators have begun processing retail-level cross-border payments in local currencies. One trader in the McKinsey border district described how instead of carrying cash across the border, vulnerable to theft and foreign exchange loss, she used her mobile app and transmitted value instantly. If this quarter succeeds, reliable, low-cost, real-time local currency settlement, it will serve as a blueprint for extension across 21 member states. Tracking metrics, number of users, transaction value, cost per transaction, settlement time, dispute rates. The pilot matters because it tests real behavior, not just technical connectivity. COMESA plans to expand piloting the DRPP to a wider set of countries: Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Egypt, Mauritius, and others. Stakeholders emphasize that payment innovation must align with trade policy, infrastructure investment, and value chain development. Digital literacy programs, fintech partnerships, and regulatory convergence are underway. For the DRPP to reach full impact, regional institutions must integrate, national policies must align, and private sector players must scale. If successful, the platform could unlock billions in cost savings and trade growth, potentially reshaping Africa's role in global commerce. In the world of finance, the loudest revolutions are not always the ones we hear first. Here, in a pilot between two African countries, a fundamental payment system is being rewritten. The US dollar may remain central for now, but the corridors of African trade are evolving. From the border markets of Malawi and Zambia to the policy tables of multi-nation blocs, the architecture of settlement is changing. For Africa, the promise is clear: trade on its own terms, settle in its own currencies, grow its own value. And for the world, a new financial heartbeat is emerging. Quiet, but not small, this is not simply a payment platform. It's a symbol of economic sovereignty, and when payments change, power changes too. The Africa Ledger. Independent voices, African perspectives, global impact.